With the European International Championships fast approaching, it again begs the question, what are the best decks for the event? And while no one knows what deck will come out on top, we have a pretty good idea based on previous results. But of course, just before we do go into our top 10 list, if you do like this type of content and you'd like to see some more content related to the Pokemon trading card game, then as always hit that subscribe button and of course like the video. And without further delay, here is our top 10 decks to be on the lookout for EUIC.
Number 10.
Number 10, Dragapult EX. While a really good hard-hitting aggressive deck that can attack on turn 1 if you are going second, this deck can knock out anything in the format with its Bellowing Thunder attack. And although while very aggressive and very fast to play because of Voodoo in the format, this deck heavily relies on item cards to get back your energy in order to continue attacking. If item locked, this deck can be quite hard to recover from, or even attack for that matter. However, given how fast this deck is, it's very possible that it will see play.
Number 9.
Number 9, Regidrago VSTAR. Our number 1 pick for the Latin American International Championships. This deck is still very solid in the format, especially because it has so many attacking options once you've used Regidrago's VSTAR ability, Legacy Star. Again, much like Raging Bolt, item lock does hurt this deck quite a lot since it is heavily reliant on item cards. However, it's a deck that I'm sure will see play one last time before it's rotated.
Number 8.
Number 8, Charizard EX. When set up, this deck is really consistent and hits very heavy, especially in the later game. Now with the addition of Dusknoir, you can spread damage on your opponent's bench or active Pokemon, as well as concede prize cards in the process to bump up Charizard's Burning Darkness attack. Again, because of Voodoo, a common theme in this top 10 list, it's a stage 2 deck which heavily relies on not just Charizard but also Pidgeot EX and Dusknoir, and if item locked by turn 2, it's going to make setting up incredibly difficult. That said, every time we write off Charizard EX, it always seems to turn up in fine numbers, so we'd fully expect it to feature in some way or another.
Number 7.
Number 7, Ceruledge EX, a deck that is relatively new and relies on discarding as many fire energy into the discard pile as possible, and in doing so this deck can hit some pretty big numbers, especially towards the later game. Only being a stage 1 means that it's pretty easy to get into play, and also does hit some weaknesses in the format, as there are quite a lot of grass Pokemon. The main issue this deck has though, is being able to hit those stage 2 Pokemon, particularly EX Pokemon and Terra Pokemon with 330 HP. Sometimes this number can be just a little bit out of range, resulting in having to 2-shot them, and if you get knocked out back, often leaving you a little bit behind on the prize exchange. That said, Ceruledge EX could still make a showing this year, even with that being taken into account. Number 6, Archaludon EX. What Archaludon EX has going for it is that it's a stage 1 Pokemon, but also very tanky with a solid 300 HP, making it very difficult to one-shot. With its Assemble Alloy ability, giving it a built-in energy acceleration, it can be paired with bouncing cards like Professor Taurus Scenario to keep bouncing your Pokemon and avoid them getting knocked out. Not only that, but its Metal Defender attack means that it has no weakness the following turn. You can also pair it with Dialga VSTAR to give you the option of a VSTAR attack, which in doing so gives you 2 turns instead of 1. Certainly a deck that we believe could feature, given how solid it is.
Number 5.
Number 5, Miraidon EX. With this tandem unit ability, Miraidon EX has a stack of attackers that you can best pair it with, such as Iron Hands EX for those easy 2 prizes, Raikou V to utilize Area 0 Underdepth, Pikachu EX for that 300 damage, as well as acting as a Terra Pokemon, and of course Raichu V for its dynamic Spark attack. This can be fueled by either Magneton or Electric Generator. Now with Latias EX in the format, allowing for all of your basic Pokemon to have free retreat, there's no doubt that this deck will certainly see some play, especially with Lugia VSTAR on the rise, and of course for its recent success over in Mexico.
Number 4.
Number 4, Palkia VSTAR Terrapagos EX. An old concept with a new engine, both Palkia VSTAR and Terrapagos EX pair together quite nicely as they both take advantage of the additional bench space gained with Area 0 Underdepths. In addition, it also uses the Noctowl engine as well as Fan Rotom to search out missing pieces in the early game, and of course being able to accelerate energy with Palkia VSTAR's ability, to which you have a variety of Pokemon to lead with. On top of that, you also have Radiant Greninja, not only to draw through your deck, but it can also act as an attacker, being able to KO those small basics on your opponent's bench when they're trying to set up. And of course, not forgetting, you also do have a Dusknoir line. This deck is very consistent going into the event due to it being less reliant on items and not really having many bad matchups, so it's one that we certainly believe will see play just because of how reliable it is.
Number 3.
Number 3, Lugia VSTAR. This deck gets that little better with Terra Pokemon on the rise, and Regigigas being the latest addition to this deck. With Lugia's VSTAR ability Summoning Star, all you need to do is ditch your Archeops into the discard pile, and then you can bring them back onto your bench, fueling for both your Cinchinos and Regigigas. Given that Dusknoir is quite prominent in the format, Regigigas could be the play, since it stands at a solid 160 HP, preventing it from being knocked out when your opponent is placing 13 damage counters on it. As always though, Lugia VSTAR is a bit flaky, and if you haven't gotten out your Arceus by at least turn 3 at the latest, it's generally quite hard to recover from. This deck is extremely powerful, but can be a bit hit or miss, but nonetheless will certainly see play for the event.
Number 2.
Number 2, Dragapult EX. Dragapult EX has always been a solid attacker with 320 HP, dealing 200 damage, and placing 6 damage counters across the bench in the process. With Dusknoir, you can attempt to knock out your opponent's active Pokemon while strategically knocking things out across the bench, simultaneously. While item lock is so prominent in the format with Voodoo, what this deck has going for it is that Dracloak has a built-in draw engine, meaning that it's not too detrimental should you open up turn 2, being item locked as you can still draw through your deck. While it can take a while to set up, however, it is a really strong choice going into EUIC.
Number 1.
Number 1, Gardevoir EX. Forever in and out of favor, Gardevoir EX takes the top spot for several reasons. Not only is it hard hitting, and doesn't necessarily need to attack with EX Pokemon, with Drifloon and Screamtail in the deck, but also like Dragapult EX, has a built-in draw engine in Curlier, meaning it doesn't really get too affected much by item lock when trying to set up. In addition, there's not really too many Darkness Pokemon in the format, meaning that not many Pokemon can hit Gardevoir for weakness. This makes this deck a very safe but consistent play for the event. And so there you pretty much have it. Those were our top 10 best decks to expect at the European International Championships of February 2025. Some honorable mentions that didn't quite make the list, but could see play include Snorlax Stool, Ancient Box, and Ironthorn variants. So what did you think of our list? Do you agree with our top 10? Or perhaps do you think there was a different arrangement or a deck that wasn't on this list that should have been included? If so, do let us know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below. We would love to hear it. And of course, not forgetting that if you do like this type of content and you want to see some more content related to the Pokemon Trading Card game, then as always, hit that subscribe button and of course, like this video. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you all in the next one.